Behold, I am Pac-Man! Pac-Man just gives me this feeling of giddiness, like there's all these tingles running up and down my nipples.
They call themselves furries, and they gather by the hundreds wearing cartoon animal costumes.
Ariana, I've been a fan of you since yours truly. You've been my inspiration my whole life.
And just come up a little bit shy. she's
If you've never played Pac-Man before, it's a little something like this.
Ariana Grande, Post Malone, Selena Gomez, Chris Hemsworth. The biggest names right now all would be nowhere without their fans. From taking them to #1 on the charts, voting for them at award shows,
I honestly owe everything in my life to you.
or simply having admiration for them puts the individual on the platform that they are on today. But what makes a positive fan influence change to a darker one? While there are several benefits to being a superfan, there is an extremely fine line from the obsessed to the malicious.
We're all fans, but what makes an individual more susceptible to obsession than others? Obsession stems from a region called the vaguemental-tegmental area. This area contains dopaminergic neurons that release dopamine, which makes an individual have feelings of pleasure and joy. For instance, if a fan listens to their favorite artist's music, they can experience strong feelings of happiness. This is normal for the average person, but some people are hardwired for greater obsessions. The anterior cingulate cortex is associated with empathy, which leads to feelings of connection and attachment between a superfan and their favorite celebrity. Some people, however, can be predisposed to obsessive behaviors. Obsession stems from a problem in the pathway between the orbital frontal cortex and the basal ganglia, which plays a role in cognition and emotion. When an imbalance in levels of serotonin and dopamine occur in this area, the individual is prone to become more obsessed with items than others. This general biology overview is seen very frequently in fans, but is heightened in the case of a superfan. Celebrity worship syndrome is used to describe an obsessive addictive disorder, where an individual becomes overly involved or interested with the details of the personal life of a celebrity. 3 independent dimensions of the celebrity worship syndrome are entertainment social, intense personal, and borderline pathological. The entertainment social dimension occurs when an individual is attracted to a celebrity due to their ability to entertain and to become a social focus of conversation with like-minded others. The intense personal dimension relates to an individual that has intense and compulsive feelings towards a celebrity. Finally, the worst of all is the borderline pathological dimension. This is when an individual displays uncontrollable behaviors and fantasies relating to a celebrity. The borderline pathological dimension is the type most commonly seen in superfans and also where it can get dangerous.
Just being a fan and being someone who's having a problem, some sort of social relational problem that is leading them to have these delusions or beliefs that aren't really true, and we've certainly seen some of those things have had really ugly outcomes.
I think to the point where it's taking over your life in terms of like financial responsibility or time, or you end up like stalking people, which is a possibility as well. I think if it becomes a hindrance to your normal everyday life, that's probably crossing a line. I could definitely see it become like an addiction for some people, or like a fantastical lifestyle, like I physically believe that I'm in this world. You could definitely see it going that way as well, but I think that's probably the line.
In the case of a sports fan, according to psychology professor Daniel Wan, it is as if, in their mind, they've experienced the same thing that the players have done. They have some control in the outcome. This is why some crazy sports fans act as they do at a big game.
I am a huge fan of Game of Thrones.
I'm a big fan of Ariana Grande.
I'm really a fan of, I like sports a lot, specifically football, baseball, basketball.
I'm a fan of Netflix TV shows.
Shawn Mendes.
I'm a fan of Game of Thrones, huge fan.
Star Wars, big fan of Star Wars.
I'm a fan of the Purdue Boilermakers.
It's something to discuss and talk about, like every Monday when we come in. For example, myself, Mr. Knopik, Mr. Marlette will talk about the previous night's episode, and it's just something to look forward to, something to have in common with other people, and there's a lot of different storylines, so there's a lot of different interests you can have in it as well.
Listening to her music like always puts you in a good mood, and she's like a good role model, and she inspires you to be like a better person.
For the Browns, there's not many benefits, at least in past years, but as a fan in the community, it's just nice. You feel as though you're all supporting everyone together, and it just kind of feels like if they succeed or fail, you feel like you're a big part of that. And you really feel like your support might help them to better the performance or make it worse, even if that is true or not.
Your own enjoyment and just passing time.
Personally, I feel that music is the universal language of the world. So, by sharing an interest in Shawn Mendes and by talking with somebody else, it could be a good icebreaker, and we could talk about our common interests in music, and then the conversation can just branch off from there.
I can talk to people who do watch the show. I get excited really easy, on Sundays when the episode airs, I get really excited, and it's a good time.
It gives you something common to talk to people about. As a teacher, it's like an instant connection if kids are into Star Wars or into those kind of movies and things like that. Like, they kind of open up to you even quicker. So, like, that's some of the benefits.
It's fun to watch sports. My brother's a big fan, so we've watched games together our whole lives, and now my little girls have become fans because Dad is a fan, so they enjoy watching the basketball and football games with me together. So it's a family thing.
But it's cool just to talk with people who are so into what you're into, because like, for example, my family is like, he's the magic guy, right? And my husband has gotten on board. He's read all the books, and he goes with me to all of the things. So he's well versed, but definitely not to the extent he doesn't want to talk about it freely like I do. Right. So it's nice to sort of have that other fan base as well, which is cool.
As we grow up, we are constantly surrounded by different sports teams, artists, and celebrities. Becoming involved with these things leads to a continuous cycle of wanting to be more involved because of all the positives associated with being a fan. Not only do people get to enjoy the things they love most, but they also get to make connections with people who have similar interests. Fandom serves as a distraction and a quick and easy escape from reality. Partaking in a supportive community sometimes limits an individual's isolation and provides almost a family to someone who may not have one. Beyond just being a fan, there are also many fan clubs that one can join, which can serve as a safe haven.
You got a cool, weird family, which sounds strange, but just everybody else who is really into that type of fandom, you sort of create your own little group, and it's cool things to talk about.
Athletes and celebrities also inspire their fans to do things they maybe wouldn't do, like joining choir or a sports team. Being a part of something like a fan club builds traditions and passions to carry throughout our lives. While YouTube and social media serve as a positive place to communicate with fellow fans, it also can feed the passions of some superfans. When a person watches videos of a star in their home or sees where they are all the time through their posts, they feel as if they know that star personally. 47% of millennials admitted in an Ipsos Connect survey said that YouTube improved their mood or health. Instead of having face-to-face interactions with friends, people are turning to their favorite YouTubers. While YouTube is beneficial in many ways, it also harbors an unrealistic closeness that can eventually cause darker problems.
I think when it gets in the way of normal life functioning, that's when we would probably talk about it as being an obsession. Mm-hmm. Passion is generally good. Being passionate about something we usually think of as very positive, but I think when it gets in the way of life and relationships, I think that's certainly where it becomes an obsession that then takes on kind of a life of its own.
Although there are many benefits of being a fan, there is a point when an interest can turn into a malicious obsession.
From Texas who love to sing. And then a sensation on the verge of international stardom when the unimaginable happened. The death that sent shockwaves throughout the country. Her biggest fan was arrested for murder.
The stories of John Lennon, Christina Grimmie, and Selena Quintanilla are prime examples in which fans have crossed the line.
Mourn the Beatles' John Lennon murdered in New York. The man who's said to have shot him as a 25-year-old from Hawaii Police describe him as mentally disturbed. Meanwhile, John Lennon's New York admirers mount a vigil outside his home.
Primetime investigation.
It has the rapt attention of millions of Americans. A judge admitted into evidence a confession. In it, an obsessed fan, a middle-aged woman, told how she came to kill the glamorous young object of her fascination, a young girl called Selena.
Known for finishing third on The Voice, greeting her fans on Twitter.
We're in Orlando today. Please come to the show if you live near Orlando, Florida.
After the show, autographs and selfies, all while a man carrying 2 guns and a hunting knife has made his way past security.
There's a time in which an obsession goes beyond the accepted normalcy of fandom. Reaching this point can cause harm to everyone involved, and this can scare the victim, their family, and sometimes put other fans at risk.
I think it depends on where you are. I mean, if you are someone who is really pretty extreme, then I think that is what opens the door for you to think, I have a personal relationship with this person because I've seen her or I've seen him. And that's where it gets a little uncomfortable and a little dangerous.
Celebrities are often stalked at their own homes, killed, or blackmailed. Even people who have not been killed have notorious stalkers who oftentimes need to be dealt with by the police and other law enforcement. While it rarely goes as far as fatalities, people need to recognize the difference between admiration and obsession. It's important to know what goes on in the mind and brain of a superfan in order to correctly diagnose and help them. More times than not, obsessive fans have some type of mental disorder that can be treated and overall prevent potential incidents from occurring. Everyone is a fan to some degree, and it's important for all of us to be aware of a harmful side that can develop on top of the benefits.